Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the August 13th, 2014 meeting of the Lowell Conservation Commission. Moving on to business, the first item on the agenda, and I'm going to take an item out of order. We're going to consider the request for certificate of compliance for Baldwin Street first. The request for certificate of compliance, Pat Carney, concerning DEP file number 2060699. Project location is 259 Baldwin Street in Lowell. Yes, sir. If you could kindly identify yourself for the record.
Administrator at the facility at 259 Baldwin Street.
All right, we've received your request. I know I've been out there a couple times, but I was going to be looking at these today, but given the rain, I didn't make it out there. Can you tell us how well established the plantings have been on the corner here?
Yeah, we've had no issues at all. They've been taking root and thriving.
There was a couple of bushes that were suffering last year. Were new ones put in place?
We had 6 new ones replaced.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is there any questions from the commission? I mean, this looked pretty good last year when we looked at it, other than just those issues, but, all right. Commissioner Vaughn.
I drive by there frequently,
Okay.
and it appears to be well established. I wouldn't think that there'd be any more room for any additional ones, even if some haven't made it.
No plans.
Yeah, you know, they're very closely planted, and when they grow, they'll have to be pruned and all, but I think it looks fabulous, and
Thank you.
I would move to issue a certificate of compliance on this project.
By Commissioner Varnum, seconded by Commissioner Lovely. Any further discussion? Swati, any input from the city? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Safe travels back to your hometown.
Thank you.
I took that one out of order because we had an advance request to do that. All right. Moving on to the first item of the agenda is notice of intent continued from a prior hearing, William Susi, concerning DEP file number 2060732. Project location is 346 Western Avenue in Lowell. I won't read the sub-information. We have a request to continue that from Matt Hammer, who's their project engineer. Do I have a motion to continue? And this is for the August 27th, I believe, meeting.
I'll offer a motion to continue it to
Second.
By Commissioner Varnum, motion by Commissioner Lovely.
Sure.
To the August 27th meeting. Is there anyone here for that project tonight? If you are, this will be, I will be taking no testimony or information on this tonight. It will be continued to the August 27th. That's our next scheduled meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I'm here for Camelot Court. Do I have time to go to my car and get an easel? Oh, I have one right down in the car.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I do. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Moving on to the second item on the agenda tonight is notice of intent, RM Developer LLC, concerning DEP file number 2060733. Project location is 169 Bridge Street in Lowell, and it's a partial demolition of the existing mill building and redevelopment of the remaining portion for residential use at 169 Bridge Street.
Good evening. My name is Jim White. I'm with the engineering firm H.W. Moore Associates. With me tonight is Mr. Ron Wyszynski from Reese Larkin, the owner and developer of the project. We're here, well, I was here 10 years ago for a very similar project when we were redeveloping this mill. At that time, we did receive a order of conditions, but that order of conditions expired. Since that time, we have a new owner and a slightly different project. This project, the previous project included both the Mill 3 building and the boiler building. This project is only for the Mill 3 building. The Mill 3 building is part of the Mass Mills complex. It's near the convergence of the Merrimack River and Concord River. You have the plan here. In red, the adjacent building, which is the building you can see clearly from a lot of different places, is the boiler house, and that's immediately adjacent to the building.
If you could speak into the, you can, I don't know if, can we give them one to carry over?
This plan indicates the existing conditions out there. Mill 3 is this long building. This is the boiler house, Concord River, Merrimack River. The project is within the riverfront area, the 25-foot riverfront area, and also within the 100-foot buffer zone area. It's also within the 100-year floodplain. We submitted, I think, middle of July, end of July, notice of intent. On July 7th, we didn't know it, on July 7th that FEMA issued a new flood map for this location, but the flood elevations did not change. So there is a new flood map out. They did draw a new contour on. The contour is elevation 66, and we had assumed an elevation 66.2. The 66 contour now runs pretty much up our driveway, and that's the only change on the plan that I saw in this vicinity. All the elevations remain the same as the elevation 66 upstream and downstream of us. So there's no change in the elevations on the site. The proposed project will include the removal of a portion of the building in this location. There'll be parking on a portion of the first level underneath the building and exterior parking, mostly where we're removing the building. There'll be no increase in impervious area as a result of this project. There'll be no, we've included in the submittal calculations for flood storage, showing that we're actually slightly increasing flood storage over existing conditions. And this is because we're removing the building and lowering the area where the building was to install the parking area. So we have increase in flood storage area. That's included in the submittal. This is a redevelopment project. Although it's a redevelopment, we do meet all the DEP stormwater management standards. All runoff from the parking area will flow through catch basins, deep sump hoods, and then flow to a water quality device such as a storm scepter body to be discharged into existing drain pipe. The courtyard drainage in the back, we're putting porous walk-in in that area, but for the landscape areas, that's also being discharged to an existing piping system. So there'll be no new outfalls to the river. At this time, we're doing relatively minimal work between the boiler building and the Mill 3 building, because at sometime in the future, we hope to develop the boiler building, and therefore, and at that time, do a more extensive landscaping scheme between the two buildings. But it doesn't make sense to do it this time if we're going to develop the boiler building. Also including the package is a sediment and erosion control plan. This is very similar to a plan that was reviewed last time, and had comments, and we incorporated the comments from last time in from the board. So,
Is this, the mill number 3, when, yeah, the one that's along the Merrimack River, that's what, mill 4 or 5? That's building 4 or 5, I think.
the boiler house is the one you really see.
Right.
Along the Merrimack River. And then there's the powerhouse, is a lower building.
Is the powerhouse,
Powerhouse is empty, it doesn't work right now. It's
no, I know, that one's staying, right?
That one's dead, yes.
What are the ultimate plans for that one? Because didn't you have, like, weren't you planning originally to go, like, under one of the buildings for access to that?
Well, we spent a lot of time, and that's one reason why in 2004 the project didn't go forward, is because of the fire department and
Right,
access
and that's
they
what I'm saying,
wanted.
is they couldn't get any
And that's
vehicles
why-
back there.
Yes, and that's one why it was decided to remove a portion of building. As you know, the Historic Commission doesn't like removing any buildings in the city. But they allowed this because that's what the fire department wanted. And part of the agreement with the Historic Commission is we're going to show the outline of the building on the ground when we're done in brick. So that shows up on the plans. So this plan is a result of what the fire department wanted to see out there. The Historic Commission has approved the plan, and I think we've received all approvals other than the Conservation Commission approval for this project.
All right, I'm assuming then that, you know, the engineering has been done and the remaining structure will not be damaged. I mean, it's not really an issue here, but I'd hate to see this come back saying, oh, the what's left of building 3 now, it needs to be buttressed by, you know, things that are gonna be, you know, columns and whatnot that are gonna be, you know, placed in the floodplain, so.
No, building, it's all been engineered. Construction drawings have been drawn up. It's I don't know if it's out to bid or bid has been awarded, but all the structural items have been reviewed. I mean, they've done cores of the wood, they've done everything in there so that they know that this project will go forward the way it is. As I said, the boiler house is not part of this project at this time. That's in worse condition, this building, and we hope to do that building in the future.
Now, you had made your comment about it is a redevelopment project, and I know the stormwater under state law is somewhat relaxed for the redevelopment portion, but we have the City of Lowell ordinance, which basically is the mass stormwater.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, and that doesn't matter if it's redevelopment or not,
Yes,
so.
That's correct. And that's why I said it's a redevelopment, but we are meeting all the standards.
Okay. I was unaware that there was FEMA issued new overlay for this particular location.
If
so.
you like, I have the map.
Yeah, I didn't, you caught me on that one, so.
I think I have the map, the original map over there. But the only difference is, the map is set up. See the 66? They did a transect here. They added the 66 contour. There's a 66 contour here, a 66 contour there, and they added this. And that's the only difference between the maps that I could find. So it basically, this transect determined that there's a 66 running up, basically. Running up.
Did that change the elevation at all? No.
We had assumed a 66.2, and this is a 66.
All right, okay. You can, well, we can. Yeah, go ahead.
I just got a quick question. I'm looking at your or your aerial photograph here, kind of it's in a different orientation than your map.
Yeah.
Boiler house is proposed for future development,
There it is.
right? But I recall, you know, if you're driving by the Bridge Street Bridge and you look immediately to the right of the bridge, I guess it would be, if I'm looking at, it would be to the west, I guess, of Mill 3. That building is still undeveloped, correct? I mean,
That's the boiler house, yes. The boiler house?
No, the one that's closest to the bridge.
Oh, the one closest. Is the boiler house and then
If you,
the power plant are the two buildings that are up there along the river.
well, maybe that's the power plant.
Maybe the power plant.
Now that does, I think if I'm reading it correctly, what you're looking to do is partially demo part of 3 to kind of create this some parking space along the riverfront.
But the boiler house is in between.
Right. But I guess my question is, you know, thinking about what you were talking about, if you look at your parking lot there, and you got some planned landscaping, if there's still some future development that's need to be done out there, I mean, how much thought have you given towards not over landscaping to the point where you're gonna end up just ripping it up at some point in the future?
Well, that's why we're not doing it by the boiler house, because that's be the next building. The power plant is a long ways off, because it doesn't lend itself to redevelopment very easily. So I'm not sure where that stands in the development scheme, but that's going to be a difficult building to,
But it can be viewed completely isolated from the rest of your proposed development. I mean, do you folks own that building as well?
yes,
Yes, I'm just trying to.
It's John Rodzinski. I'm with the applicant. The power plant is controlled by NL, basically through a permanent easement. So the owner of the boiler house, which is an affiliate of the Mullins Company who tried to develop this before, they technically own the power plant, but there's a 99-year lease that NL controls the building, not just the water rights, the building, everything. So they're the effective owner. So it's never going to be developed, probably.
Uncertainty.
Yeah.
I got you. All right. I just wanted to make sure, looking ahead, look at this thing holistically. If you're thinking about phasing it, what would be the next step? But that answers it for me. Thank you.
Could you speak to how the parking will work under the building? I know we discussed this last time, but it's been a while. Is that going to be open, or?
No, it'll be on the first level of the building, and you can see on sheet C3, there's a layout of parking, and that's just one level, on the bottom level, about half the building will have parking in it.
So that will be a situation where water could flow through if it should?
No, the building wall is going to remain, from outside, it's going to look like, the regular building. And then there'll be a garage door in this location. And so water won't be flowing in or out of that area.
Is that expansion room the other half of the floor, or?
This area will be residential units.
Are those going to be units?
Units, and the building is well above the 100-year flood elevation. So water will never be entering the building.
Thank you.
Can you just direct me quickly to where your calcs are for your flood, for your filling in your cuts?
Sure, they're in the stormwater analysis report. I can give you it'd be Appendix D.
Would you say C?
D.
E?
D. Like, D. So we did analysis from elevation 10 to 11, and then 11 to 11.8.
Okay, help me out here. Yeah, I see the, I see the totals. So we're only dealing with just over a foot and a half, I guess. So, well, 10 to 11, yeah, and 11 to 11.8. So, what on the left-hand column, you have distance and length. 0 plus 0, 0. What does that mean? I don't.
We developed stations, baseline through the site, and these are called stations. So, beginning be 0, then 25 feet, 50 feet, 75 feet. So every 25 feet, we do a cross-section.
Sounds like a grid.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're doing this as a horizontal?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We do cross-sections,
All right,
and
okay.
we thought it'd be easier than.
All
we
right,
could have done it
I'm
by-
thinking vertically, and this is horizontal. Okay.
So we do cross-sections, which is kind of like the old-fashioned way of doing it, but I think it's easier to do on a site like this.
All right. So the only numbers. The only numbers that that I'm going to concern myself with then is the between 10 and 11, I have 1,500 cubic feet of fill, just over, but 2,385 compensation.
That's correct.
New storage capacity, and so that's a net of, what do we get? 800 cubic feet, a little bit more, and then from 11 to 11.8, we've got 2,320 cubic feet filled, and with over 4,000, just over 4,000 of cuts. Okay, all right, thank you. When I didn't understand I've seen that before on other things, and to be honest with you, I don't know what it means. So.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of an old-fashioned, everyone does it with a computer now. We did it the old-fashioned way, we just do cross-sections and did out that way.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
a lot easier.
to be fair, I've never seen it for a cut and fill calculation, so that's,
That's how highways do it.
right, yeah, I see that on the, and I'm just assuming it's a distance marker that means something to an engineer somewhere along the way, so, okay. All right, thank you. I don't, it's funny, sometimes these big projects, you have less questions, so I don't have anything further. Commissioner Barnum? Commissioner Lovely? All right. Do we,
Those wood will be good, I think. I mean, that's the one remaining spot along that
Yes.
stretch of VFW highway that's undeveloped.
I note that the city didn't have just a general comments. Has the city engineer input any information on this, or did we receive any comments from the DEP?
No, DEP still has the status under review on their website, and I would think we would have gotten something by now. I checked with the engineer. I had shared the full packet with them. I didn't get any comments, so I'm assuming they're okay.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board? I don't see why we can't issue a standard order on this, so we've got some nice stuff that we usually ask for. We have the stormwater report. You've met the standards, for new development, so.
Yeah.
So I'm satisfied there.
I mean, at this point, I think I'm willing to offer a motion to issue a city Lowell order standard of conditions for the project.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lovely, seconded by Commissioner Varnum. Before I close, before I close the public hearing, and we have a motion on the table, let's table that for a second. Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns either for or against this project? Is there anyone who would like to offer their comments or concerns either for or against this project? Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns either for or against this project? Hearing none. Okay, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the hearing.
By Commissioner Varnum, seconded by Commissioner Lovely. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Now we have a motion that had been tabled to issue a Lowell Standard Order of Conditions, seconded by Commissioner Varnum, motion by Commissioner Lovely. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. All right, good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for the detailed report. I'm assuming you had been in contact with Swathi. Yes, thank you. Moving on to the third item on tonight's agenda is a request for determination of applicability, Camelot Court Realty Company. Project location is 293 to 355 Pawtucket Boulevard in Lowell, and it's to place a dumpster pad and replace surrounding pavement at 293 to 355 Pawtucket Boulevard.
Good evening. My name is Ron Pica from RJ Pica Engineering, representing Camelot Court. We're here for the termination to hopefully resolve two issues. One is the Health Department recently have come in with a new ruling to require all dumpsters be on pavement. We have 4 dumpsters on the site. 3 of them are on pavement, 1 is not on pavement, and that's shown right here at the rear of the site, okay? We are in the flood zone. A portion of the property way on the other end is in jurisdictional wetlands, and other than that, we are not within 100 feet of wetlands, okay? I did submit plans to the DEP, and I have receipts for that if you need to see them. Also, I did email the citizens group. Hold on. Let me just get. They emailed me back. They had some concerns about calculations for volume. Our intention is to not raise the grade at all, to maintain the existing grade. So we're going to be, as far as the dumpster portion is concerned, we're going to be removing the grass and gravel, subsoil underneath the dumpster. We're going to replace it with 3 inches of gravel, with 6 inches of gravel and 3 inches of pavement. The grades will not change. The second request that we have is because in this area here we have approximately 2,600 square feet of area that the pavement is deteriorated. And as long as we're going to have pavers out there, we would like to remove the pavement that's existing, the pavement that is existing is approximately 2 inches. It varies as you go along. We tested it. And what we want to do is remove approximate depth of 2 inches, and also we're planning on removing 1 inch of gravel so that we can put in 3 inches of pavement. The citizens group emailed me back, and they indicated that they would like to see calculations for the volume out, volume in, which is going to be the same. However, okay, right here. I did do calculations only because they had a concern. It was not submitted with the package because I didn't think it would be a concern, but I'd like to submit them for file now. Is that possible, Mr. Chairman? Bring it over.
These are your elevations?
These are calculations for volume of material out, the volume of material in. Okay, and of course it comes out to be 0.
Could you supply one too?
Right. So in the calculations, you know, again, we've indicated in the calculations that the final grades will be the same as the existing grades, okay? And the depths, we estimated for the pavement an average of 2 inches existing now. It's broken up. And the average depth of the soil is estimated at 6 inches for this area here, okay? Anyway, we did the calculations to make sure we come out 0, okay? So basically, what we're going to be doing is removing grass and gravel, grass and subsoil, and then putting in gravel for an area of 102 square feet. And that's going to be for the dumpster. It's a little bit larger than the other dumpster pad because I'd like to get these dumpsters to spread out a little bit because they have side access. And if they're too close, they can't really use the side access well, okay? This area here, 118 by 22, is the area that is deteriorated. And I provided the Conservation Commission with photos showing the deterioration of the pavement, okay? My narrative broke it up into 2 parts. One is being able to place pavement under the dumpster and with the determination, okay, so we don't have to file a notice of intent. And that we need to do to comply with City of Haverhill health requirements at this point. I've asked the board, and then the other part is really a safety issue, and if we're going to be paving, we'd like to just bring a paver in and pave the whole part here, but I left it as a separate issue in case we couldn't do it under a determination, okay? I'm hoping that the commission will allow us to do both of these under the determination. If not, okay, we definitely need to place pavement under the dumpster because, again, it's a recent rule change with the health department, and we have to comply with that. Okay. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right.
I've given you the plan of just the back of the site, okay? But I also provided you with a plan showing the entire site, okay?
Okay, are you all set?
I'm done, thank you.
Okay. There's a little history on this site, and were you the engineer that was before us a number of years ago, too, on this?
Yes, what that was,
Because you look familiar, so.
I'm looking what?
You look familiar, so.
Okay, I was here. And that's when the superintendent over there, had nothing to do with the management group or the engineering groups, decided to do some paving.
Right.
And supposedly, according to her, did not realize that she had to get permits and didn't have to go to conservation. And she took this area here, and that was for repaving, which the Conservation Commission allowed us as an after-effect application. She took this area here, which was grass, and paved it.
Right. So let me just put it in terms of, and the similarities to what you're asking tonight. That was also done under an RDA, and I believe, and the repaving. And they went and did a lot more than they said they were going to do. And that makes me nervous as heck to deal with this entity under doing another RDA essentially in the same area. The problems I'm having with this is absolutely the act applies. So for me, it's a positive determination. What I'm not seeing and what I think we really need to see is the elevations. And I'm not seeing them.
Oh, I have spot elevations on the pavement,
Yeah, but you're talking about bringing in, you know, several inches of fill, and you've provided us with, you're taking this much out and putting this much in, but that doesn't help as far as what the pre-existing grades are and what the final grades are.
Well,
This is sort of just it's not an engineered, it's just a, you know, a hand-drawn-in thing here now. And you also, in your narrative, you indicated that you'd like to do the dumpster pad, and maybe I'm mistaken, but bigger than what is shown on the plan?
oh, no.
Oh, all right, that's what it
Bigger-
sounded like to me.
Right. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm making it slightly bigger, okay, but that is shown on the plan. That is the 102 square feet. And as far as grades, I have spot grades here, and here,
Well-
and there.
well, I
And what
can't
we
tell
wanna
which
do
one
is
of the-
maintain those.
I can't tell which ones are the spot grades and which ones are the distance markers, because there's no, I'm assuming the 45 and the 44.8s and the 44.7s and 9s are all the elevations, but they're all kind of intermixed in with the, you know, with the dimensions here too, so it's kind of like not really clear.
If you want,
Be that as it may, though, this is, you know, you said for the city of Haverhill, we're in Lowell, but that's okay. But, so that tells me you're not a native Lowellian. This area that you're dealing with is super critical. We look at every wheelbarrow full of fill that goes into this area.
I understand that,
Yeah, you've got spot grades. I'd like to see those on this plan really nailed down, and because, you know, I know, everyone sitting here knows that this place out here is pancake flat.
yes. Yeah, and you can see by the spot grades.
Yeah, but we've got to make sure that these grades are at or below,
Right. What I can,
you know, once you've finished.
right. What I can do, Mr. Chairman, and I can do that tonight if you like, on a set of drawings for yourself and mine, is I could put a plus next to each one, or I could put a box around each one of the grades, the 44, 9, and that sort of thing. So there will be a distinction between the grade of, let's say, 44 and the distance, say, like 22. So I could do that tonight, and if the board will allow me that, okay, it'll save me coming back and save you having to see my face again until it's complete.
Why can't the dumpsters be pulled onto the, into the parking area?
Well, because then they don't have enough parking as it is right now, okay? And the dumpsters have always been where they are.
Yeah, but it's not like you can park in front of them. There wouldn't be parking spaces in front of those dumpsters anyway, because there'd be no way for the truck to get them. There would be hashed yellow marks in front of that no parking.
There is.
Yeah, so why can't the dumpsters be pulled forward?
Well, the dumpsters have always been where they're at now, okay?
Yeah, but you're proposing new pavement now where there never has been. And that's the problem we ran into the last time we were here, so.
Well, the last time we were here, they did it without coming here. That
Right.
was the main problem. And then, but then, under our direction, they did do exactly what the board wanted them to do. They did remove all the pavement, they put the rocks in, we put signs up, and then, of course, we did pave what you did allow us to pave, okay, which was repaving only. You know, so it was just one person that really handled that. That person is no longer involved in the association, or she wasn't actually an association director, but she was a superintendent. She's no longer involved, okay? And I don't believe that they've had any violations since this time, and I believe this was the only violation that they had. But it was taken care of, and it was taken care of as directed by the board, and we stayed with it, and all the way to being able to get a certificate of of compliance.
Yeah, no, I recall, and you came in after after
was
the
after the
damage had been done. You were hired to rectify the problem, but what I'm saying is originally it was done, I believe, either under a letter request, which we treated as an RDA
Right.
at the time, only to find out that they,
Yeah. As far-
took it and ran with it and paved a lot more than they said they were going to in their original request, so.
I don't think they had a request at all. They just paid.
Yeah, my recollection was they asked, and then
Oh.
they did more, and that's how we found out about it.
Okay, when I jumped into this after they were noticed, okay, they gave me nothing telling me that the
I think
city
it-
was ever.
Yeah, I think they had asked if they could repave.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so maybe the contractor did
And then-
that?
and-
through
No,
the engineering?
they did it. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, the contractor's not gonna go out and just repave an extra, 3,000 square feet
Right.
without someone asking them to do it, so.
Right. Mr. Chairman, do you see an adverse effect of putting pavement here?
Yeah, I see an adverse effect anytime I see new pavement in an area that's never been paved before, and that's in, even though it's out of the buffer zone, it is in the floodplain. And, yeah, I mean, if the dumpsters can be pulled forward 8 feet, pull them forward 8 feet. I don't know if there's a regulation that says they can't be placed on, where they are. But you can't, it's not like you can park in front of them where they are anyway, so. I mean, what's the point of putting new pavement back there and, you get a stub like this, it's just gonna fail anyway in a couple of years and they're gonna be looking to repave it again, so.
Well, Mr. Chairman, just to add to that, if I understand what you're saying correctly, I mean, you're making the argument that you're not changing grade, and I understand that, but the fact is you're still looking to put pavement on a 102 square foot area that has no pavement, so basically you're making that portion of the site impervious and therefore no more recharge. You'd be having more sheet flow, and that too creates an issue.
Right. As far as sheet flow, if there is additional sheet flow, it's going to be very, very minor. Keep in mind that when the dumpster is on top of the impervious area, or the pervious area, when the dumpster is on top of that, you're not getting recharge anyway because the dumpster is on top of it. So that's considered, impervious, okay? Like if you were designing a site with a building, that building portion as well as pavement would be considered impervious area, okay? So here you're moving, you're putting a dumpster on grass or you're putting a dumpster on pavement. Yeah, there's hardly any change, and we only have 102 square feet additional there.
I've driven into this site several times since you were in last time for that paving incident.
I think that was that 3 years ago, 2 years ago?
And I haven't seen any violation of the reconfigured, the stones have remained in place even through a couple of winters. The area is grassed. I haven't seen any trash there. So I would say our past remediation has been successful in this particular area. The pavement, there's a lot of pavement out there right now. And the 2,596 square feet is very deteriorated. I don't think I would have any objection to replacing that, provided though that the elevations remain the same and nothing else has changed in that particular area. I think they probably want the dumpsters back there because the truck comes, I'm in a butter to this, and the truck comes at about 7 a.m. every day. So the rest of the time, you have that parking space available. So I think that's probably why they're thinking this is parking. That everybody knows the dumpster comes, it wakes everybody up,
Right.
including me at 7 AM. I would almost rather see pavement under that dumpster. Well, of course, that's a regulation now. But I would worry about things maybe dripping out of the dumpster, which I'm assuming that's why they have the regulation that it be paved, dripping into the ground and seeping down to the brook and getting into the waterways. I don't recall having that other paved area under the other dumpster come before us, however. It seems like that,
This one here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually on drawings that, what,
well, I'm not saying that it didn't, it's just I don't recall it, and,
the last drawing that I did, and what I tried to do is use the old drawings because I'm trying to save them some money. Even though there's a lot of units, there's some elderly people there, it's difficult for them to even maintain cost as it is now. But the last drawing that we did, in fact, this drawing was basically done in 1992, revised in 2008, okay, and all I did on the drawing was put a few notes on and just show the two dumpsters with the pavement.
well,
there.
it's likely that they have added an additional dumpsters. What happened is that perhaps they only had one back there.
Oh,
And there did used to be a basketball court right in that area, which they did remove. So we actually did have some impervious area removed because, there was a single basket and a sort of a basketball court right there
right.
some years ago. I'm not really opposed to the pavement under the dumpster in this location because my fear is that if we actually lose 2 or 3 parking spaces there, that people are going to start parking on the grass, which I think could be more damaging than perhaps having a little pavement at grade that hasn't been existing before, especially since, as you say, you have an object on top of it, which is going to prevent recharge anyway. So I would like to see the elevations very strictly monitored, but I'm not opposed to this plan.
Well, I will be monitoring it as the engineer, and I'm sure we have to come back here once the work is done to get certification, okay? And I will be doing that, and I will be shooting the grades to make sure that they stay the same, if anything lower, but basically they're going to be staying the same.
All right, now, I need an answer to this question because I'm not sure. Clearly the act applies. Because
Clearly
this-
what?
Clearly the act applies because you're bringing in fill into a floodplain. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure we could even issue a -3 on this. And what I'm saying is, yeah, I mean, I'd like to say, yeah, potentially we could issue our options are, one, we issue a negative determination, which I don't think we can. We issue a -3, but I'm not sure I'm not sure we can there because that's generally buffer zone work. It doesn't apply to floodplain issues. Or we issue a positive determination. If we issue a positive determination, which I'm assuming you're trying to avoid because then you need to file a notice of intent, so, those are our options. Now, assuming we issue a negative determination with conditions now, that it's negative conditioned upon you know, a couple of things being met. One is that you change your nomenclature on your plan to indicate which ones are the elevations and, you know, and separate them from the distances. So that's easy enough to do. You're the engineer, you certify the plan, so you can do that even tonight.
I can do that tonight, yes.
The second condition we could put on that is that you provide post-paving elevations. And that your post, or that you provide an as-built. You know, typically when you issue a negative determination, you know, you had indicated, you know, I'm assuming you'd have to do that. No, typically when we issue a negative determination, that's the end of it. But if we condition it that it remains negative upon receiving an as-built that certifies you as the certifying engineer that the repaving remains at or below the pre-existing or the current grades, then, you know, then we can go forward. The problem I'm having is the new pavement. Now, and that's what's causing the issue here now, because now we've got a situation where this isn't necessarily, you know, redevelopment. This is bringing in fill where there wasn't any fill before, even though it's at the same grade. The act is pretty clear on that, and the DEP opinions on that are pretty clear. It doesn't matter whether you're bringing in, you know, 20 cubic yards and you're taking out 400 cubic yards. You're bringing in 20 cubic yards. That's all they care about. They don't care how much you're bringing off the site. They only care about how much you're bringing on. And if you're bringing on fill, then that activates the, you know, the positive determination. You know, a -3 generally as you know, deals with buffer zone. We're not in a buffer zone here. This is just floodplain.
Right.
So that I'm kind of struggling with this now, because I'm not sure if we issue a negative determination with conditions, whether the DEP will step in now and say, oh no, we're going to issue a superseding on this. So, I mean, you have to be aware that may in fact happen. I don't know if there's any comments.
Well, I'm just putting this in the context of, rather than fill, like bringing dirt, one could make an argument you're reconditioning pavement. And if you're verifying that the pavement is we're not having any changes in elevations whatsoever, you know, based on what the chairman was saying. I mean, I can't speak for DEP, but to me that would be a legitimate argument to maintain this through the RDA process rather than going through the formal notice of intent. But I think, if I'm understanding the chairman correctly, I mean, I think what he's saying is that we can probably proceed in this route, you know, assuming we all agree, but your client's at risk that we may be overruled by DEP.
I'm sorry.
Good. Okay, do you think that DEP would intervene?
They have in the past.
Even on some...
Yeah, we had a situation where it was a fence. I mean, it was like 10 cubic feet.
Yeah.
And they issued a superseding on it. It was literally like 2 wheelbarrows full of quote-unquote fill, and they issued a superseding on it, yeah. So they did intervene. And this was right around the corner from your site, so it's... So, yeah, I mean, I can't speak for DEP, I have no idea.
Yeah, no, I understand.
All I can do is tell you what they've done in the past. And yeah, they have intervened, so whether or not, you know, they will in this particular case or not, I can't answer that. But
okay.
What I'm postulating, though, is, you know, clearly we have jurisdiction, okay? I mean, you know, it's floodplain. So, it's not a jurisdictional issue. What the issue under the RDA process says is, one, whether or not the act is invoked, clearly yes, but is there an exemption to it? Can the work proceed without it? And I'm not aware of any exemption in the act that says once you bring in fill to a site, you can issue a -3 or you can issue a negative determination. I'm struggling with that on my own. I'm open to the fact that we could issue a negative and condition it that you include some extra information on the submitted plan, and that it remains a negative determination provided that you furnish us with an as-built plan. But what I'm saying is I'm comfortable doing that, but I can't speak to what the DEP is going to do.
Right. Is it possible that you can give me the negative determination and with the requirements that you want to put on it? And how long does it usually take for DEP to?
Who knows? I mean, they could, they could issue something right away. You could have a neighbor that complains. I mean,
Could we?
I don't know. Have you spoken with the PCC?
I have not. With the group. I have, emailed them, and they emailed me back. And they did indicate that they thought they were going to be able to see calculations, okay? I sent them an email back indicating that I didn't know if there was a need for it. However, I provided it anyway, okay, because basically it had some concern, okay, right?
I mean, the PCC is your, and again, I don't want to speak for them either, but they're a very active citizens group.
Sure, right.
And one of their very important issues is floodplain.
Right, and the what they sent me on the email, basically their concern was no difference in elevation, no increase in elevations. That's what their real concern was. Other than that, they didn't appear to have any other concerns.
All right, as are we. So,
Okay, yeah.
I don't want to beat a dead horse here. Yeah, guess what?
I understand your predicament. What I was wondering was, is there any room to look at any paved area that can be taken out this process so that it balances out what is being added? I mean, you have an entire site where I'm pretty sure there might be like trims and, spaces like ends of parking areas from where you can see if you can calculate out about that 102 square feet of area, because I'm thinking if DEP supersedes, I'm definitely looking at this becoming a notice of intent filing. So would it be worthwhile looking at, taking a second look at it to see if there are any corners or any angular areas which are right now paved but not used, as a paved area, which can be taken out maybe with some planting or mulch or something to help you, identify paved area compensated with, removing pavement to balance out the 102 square feet you're adding under the dumpster.
Yeah.
Yeah, if what I understand from,
Pardon me?
what's been indicated tonight from various sources, that, I think every single inch of pavement out here is being used. And I'm even looking over to the east, that dumpster, there's a double dumpster like midway between the buildings, and there's a parking area like tucked in the corner by those. So, I mean, they've got,
I was wondering, as an alternative solution, if you couldn't put that extra dumpster that doesn't have the pad yet over next to the other two in the middle of the complex.
Yeah.
I've seen complexes bigger than this that only have one dumpster area rather than two. It seems there's more space over there.
Yeah. You could see how difficult it would be even to be able to grab it. And they do have a parking space there too.
Well, not there, but with the other two, next to the other two, so you have 3 and then 1. There's 2 in the,
I have 2 here and 2 here.
oh, I thought it was on the other side.
No, there's nothing on the other side.
2 here and 2 here.
Here we just, this pavement that you allowed before
Yeah.
is just really all use of parking and driveway.
Well, even so, isn't there a space next to that, next to the 2?
This here?
Mm.
Yeah, they're actually short on, they need more spaces now, that's the problem. And we can't have it. We were thinking 2 or 3 years ago, coming back through the board, and we did discuss it very briefly, to add some additional pavement out back here, okay, and we never made the proposal, okay? We did have approval once, I think it was in 1992 in that area, to actually put additional pavement here, okay? And part of it was new pavement, part of it was gravel or stone parking, and it was approved by the city of Lowell, okay? That was a long, long time ago, but they never actually did it. And to do it now, it's even more difficult. And at that time, it was not in the floodplain. The floodplain maps changed, and then all of a sudden, we were fully in the floodplain, okay? But you can see that all of the pavement is being used. There's 162 units here. If we were to build this today, okay, with this many units, I'm sure that the requirements in the city of Lowell would require more land, okay, and we would have to have more pavement for parking. Okay, but this was built, I don't know when, but, you know, they were allowed to do what they did.
All right, I have an idea here. This was ordered by the health department. It's obviously a public health issue. Then what I would do, I suppose, is entertain that because this is an ongoing, continuing public health issue. It's been ordered by the health department that all dumpsters now be seated upon a concrete pad. Given the fact that this is an existing apartment unit with perhaps insufficient parking as it stands, with no chance of creating any more parking, then we can negative condition, negative determine this with at least 3 conditions. One is that it is in fact ordered by the Public Health Department. The second is that you correct your submitted plan, your current conditions plan, to indicate the elevations. And the third is that that no excess fill be brought on site, or in accordance with your letter, your certified letter that you provided us. And the fourth is that you provide an as-built engineered plan showing the final elevations, and that no elevations on that final plan be higher than the existing elevations. And you are to work only within the area as indicated on the plan itself. And that's it.
Okay.
All right, I suppose, because it is a public health issue, that perhaps could, be the exemption that we're looking for here, so. It's not exactly an emergency, but we can treat it as a public health issue. All right, is there any further questions? All right, okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Lovely.
And you got the 4 conditions?
All right, is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns on this request for determination? Anyone here would like to offer their comments or concerns? Anyone here would like to offer their comments or concerns? Hearing none. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
I know we
Okay, thank
put
you.
you through the ringer, but, it's prudent to do that.
Do you want me to take the plans you have and put a box?
Yeah, if you could do that with the city, and it doesn't have to be done tonight, but it does have to be done as part of the process.
back.
You can probably submit one, would be a better idea.
Okay, that's great. Okay, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is the fifth item, I believe. It's a request for a certificate of compliance, Harkins Real Estate, Inc., regarding DEP file number 2060683. The project location is 279 Pawtucket Street in Lowell. I don't believe anyone came in on this. This is, we issued a superseding order of conditions on this, and this was the original one, I'm assuming?
Yes, this
Yeah.
was the original one where the project was proposing exclusively residential projects, and planning board actually denied that petition for the site plan review, so they had to abandon that. So the order, because of the Permit Extension Act, is currently still valid.
Okay, so it's still valid, all right. So, do you want, I don't know if any, yeah, I mean, I have no problem. And all I would put in the COC is the reason for it is it's null and void. That's all, okay. All right, do I have a motion?
I'll offer a motion to issue certificate of compliance for this project.
All right, do I have a second? Second. By Commissioner Varna, motion by Commissioner Lovely. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Moving on to other business, and next item on the agenda, 51 and 57 Shirley Avenue, and request for a partial bond release, and I know Maureen Hanley is here for Mr. Mercia.
Good evening. I sent the commission a request for the partial bond released at the last commission meeting. You requested some additional information, a contract from the landscaper who performed the work, the cost of the trees, as well as what was stated in the contract, and that's been provided to the commission.
Okay, yeah, I hate to be picayune, but I'm having a real hard time with this invoice. First, under the cost analysis, office expenses. I've never seen a landscaping company charge for office expenses. I honestly, I have no idea what that is. I mean, it looks like it's a bill from a lawyer's office. The rest of it, I don't know. I guess I'd like to see a breakdown, but, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, this doesn't even look like an invoice. I mean, there's no address on it, there's no phone number on it, there's nothing that can be verified on this. It looks like someone just ran it off of a printer. Even the signature is a a font. It's not even someone's signature, so. I mean, it's made to look like that, but it's not. I don't, whether that Mr. Hines or whatever his name is, does that, I don't know, but, I mean, I'd like to see an actual invoice, not something that someone did on a laser printer and a computer. I mean, this just is, this is just like, I don't know what it is.
I understand it's obviously not very detailed, but the work has been performed, and I believe, I don't want to speak for any of the commissioners, but you're satisfied the trees are in. We've done everything under the enforcement order that has been asked up to this point. The really only other outstanding issue is that the commission wanted us to have the enforcement are ongoing for a year, just to ensure that the plants take. And, you know, before we can officially close it out. So I understand your concern about the invoice, but on the flip side of that, the work is done. I mean, essentially, now all we need to do is wait a growing season.
Yeah,
and
no,
then we can close this out.
I realize that trees have been planted and they seem to be taking. We've had an email from a neighbor that indicated that they weren't being watered, but, I mean, they seem to be taking, so I'm not overly concerned about that at this point in time. But, you know, we had asked for a proposal, you've submitted that, but the supporting information behind, that's what I'm saying, behind it. I mean, you've got $470-something a tree, which is fine, but part of the expense of that is office expenses. You know, I mean, seriously? I need to see a breakdown of this, because I indicated to Mr. Mercier, I indicated to you, and I indicated to Mr. Erickson through the whole process that, you know, we weren't going to be allowing, as part of the release of the bond, for work that's being done by, you know, Mr. Mercier or his employees. So I don't quite, I don't know what this is. Let's get a breakdown of it. You know, I mean, we've got $479 a tree, I get that, but, you know, I mean, I might have been born on a Monday or something like that, but it wasn't last Monday.
It's just frustrating on my standpoint.
Frustrating for you? This is ridiculous. Ms. Hanley, you don't get me going, because
No,
my floor, because I will get going. This is bogus. This is, as far as I'm concerned, this invoice was done by someone, not Mr. Hines, all right? There's no signature on it. There's no supporting information on it. The information that is on it is something that you would never see on a landscaping invoice. Seriously? Office expenses? What is he charging for paper clips?
I don't
mean,
know.
you know, come on. The floor is still mine. Don't go on and say this has been frustrating. You and your client have been the ones that have created this frustrating by obfuscating and by piecemealing it and whatnot. It's not been this commission, it's been you.
I mean, I disagree with you, Mr. Chairman. I really do. I understand that you don't like the paperwork I provided. I provided that 2 weeks ago. If there was a problem with the paperwork, if you needed more information, it would have been nice to hear back from the commission that this paperwork isn't up to your qualifications or what it is that you're looking for.
All right,
I
we
would have
just-
been more than happy to provide numbers for an office expense.
You make the submittal, the submittal was made, your letter is dated August 5th. It goes out in our packages. We just got them. We got them a couple of days ago. So there's not going to be any situation where it's going to be going back, you know, to you. This is the time where we review it and we talk about it, okay? And you know, Ms. Hanley, I'm sure, you know, you've been doing this a while. Look at, I mean, would you, if you got an invoice from a landscaping company charging for office expenses, wouldn't you be questioning that? I know I would be.
I would be questioning it, but I don't know what
Thank
the
you.
office expense is, and I'm not really sure how important it is in this scenario. The work's been done, the trees are in.
Yeah,
We posted a $20,000 bond to the
Yeah,
city.
and you're asking for half of it back.
We're requesting for half of it back. I can provide the additional information if you'd like, that's not a problem.
I'd like to see a legitimate invoice.
Okay. I can provide a legitimate
And
invoice.
not one that's, you know, the handwriting font, you know, that I can do on Microsoft Word on my own computer. I could probably do it right now.
You know what might be helpful too with that on the invoice? I mean, people write invoices on different software packages, but one thing to maybe address the potential concerns you have about the authenticity of it. I understand where you're coming from. At the end of the day, the work's done, but you know, as the chairman said, we've had a long history with this project, and it gets tiring on our end that just about every agenda, we see 51 and 57 Shirley Ave.
I
And
understand.
you've been here a number of times too, before you,
Right.
Mr. Erickson. I would suggest I'm more worried about content. And I would agree with the chairman. I mean, a lot of that stuff, if that was me, I'd be questioning those expenses. But to address the concern about the potential authenticity of that, how about having Heinz Landscape provide their tax ID number as well? And that way we can be sure that this is truly being done by, there isn't something underhanded being done, because there is a perception issue out here. And I think we have that perception is because up until maybe recently, and this has nothing to do with you, you're working on behalf of your client, but I've never met Mr. Mercier, but I can tell you, I mean, this dragging along, it's somewhat frustrating, and, I get the sense that he's not acting in good faith, I mean, or historically hasn't, and I think one way to address this is just to kind of have the additional information and get it on a more legitimate looking invoice. And I'm not here to nitpick an invoice, but I would tell you right now, if I saw something, at least if I saw like a tax ID number or something like that, I'd know it was done by a legitimate business, and if there was any question about the work that was done and whether or not there was any recourse, well, I know there's a business out there to go after.
Now, maybe one that actually has an address where you can pay it and a phone number. I mean, there's nothing on here. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to send a check on this invoice.
I spoke to Mr. Hines myself. He told me he performed the work. I don't know his address. I know that he did do the work. I know that the work is completed. I can provide you with the details if you feel that's necessary in order to release the bond that my client put up. I can do that for you.
We need,
Go ahead.
we need the breakdown of this in order to know how much to hold back. For instance, how much did each tree cost? If it has to be replaced, we'd need to hold that much back until they're guaranteed to, and the same with the planting expenses. You can't just lump it all together. It needs to be broken down. What watering arrangement, we've been talking about the fact that the trees haven't been watered yet. It's been extremely dry, and it's very likely that the trees won't survive.
That's
So we
not
need
my
a breakdown.
Excuse me, but that's not my understanding. My understanding is that Mr. Hines has been hired to water the plants. In addition to that, Mr. Mercier has contacted a neighbor to water the plants as well. I'm not requesting the full $20,000 bond release at this time because, like you stated, if a tree dies, it needs to be replaced. And the work and the labor to put the tree in the ground, that price or that cost of that work needs to be there. And I feel that the city will hold back that additional $10,000. I think that's more than enough if a half dozen of the trees died at this point. I can provide a further breakdown if the commission would feel more comfortable. I'm only asking for half of the bond to be released tonight. I cannot come back to the commission until, I don't know, next June or July. So I will not be back until June or July. The site will be looked at again. If there's damaged trees or any are killed, they will be replaced.
Again, I'm looking for an invoice. I'm going to put it blunt. I know some of the members, perhaps are a little bit more forgiving, but not exactly sure what I'm looking at. But I'll tell you, Commissioner Lovely's suggestion of a tax identification number, I'd like to see some other identification for Heinz Landscaping, an address, a phone number. If it's a legitimate business, there's going to be that type of information. If there's an invoice, I get it, people do invoices on computers. I mean, that's the way things are done now. But, usually there's a place, send the check here. We also had indicated that, none of the labor costs were going to be attributable to work done by Mr. Mercier or any of his employees. It was only it was only third parties hired to do the work, so, you know, so and I'm not saying that that happened here, but, you know, but I want to see a, you know, a legitimate invoice, you know, from Heinz, you know, and not one signed with, you know, Microsoft Word script font, which is what this has done. I mean, that's, you know, I mean, if they sent this to me, I'd be on the phone, but I wouldn't know who to call because there's no phone number here. I'd be on the phone saying, you know, what is this? And what are the office expenses? Because you're not getting paid until I get a legitimate invoice, and at the same token, I understand you're saying that, in your opinion, there's more than sufficient being held back, but in the same token, I'm not in the position yet to say, okay, let's release this, because I don't have enough information yet. Okay, for me, I'm not accepting this as appropriate evidence that this is what the cost was.
I understand. If I provide the commission with a breakdown of invoice and a tax ID number,
And an address and a phone number, yeah.
the information you're looking for, will it be necessary for me to attend the next meeting?
No. I mean, I'm not, you know, and I apologize for going off at you, but you have to understand, you haven't been here since the beginning.
No, I understand.
And I've been here for every single one of them.
I understand how extremely frustrating this project has been, not only on your end as the commission, but on our end as the consultants. And that's why I was just really hoping to get half the bond back, and then you won't have to see me on this project till next year.
Yeah.
And I apologize for getting frustrated as well, but I just,
Let's get what we had asked for tonight by the next meeting, or as soon as you possibly can get it. But again, it's not going to be anything that's going to be reviewed by the members and acted upon until, you know, the next meeting. You know, we've got the open meeting law that we have to be concerned about too. It's not like we could have, you know, looked at this and gotten back to you and said it's insufficient because, you know, because we're up against that too. We have to meet this out in public. And that's METE, not MEET. So, you know, we have to, you know, this has to be done as part of the public hearing process and part of the, you know, the open meeting law. So it's not like we could have gotten back to you separately and said it's insufficient, okay? Because that would have just been one member's opinion.
well, that one member's opinion is helpful, because likely if it's one member's opinion, it's more likely others as well.
So,
My take on it is, I don't think we need to go through another iteration on the invoice. I think there's disagreement on the content. I think we've clarified that tonight.
Right.
Breakdown, contact information, tax ID. I think we get that information, we're done.
Okay.
yeah, and just a little bit further, the office expenses, I'd like to see that line item because that's coming out. It's, you know, I mean, that's not a legitimate charge. Okay, that's something that Heinz has to deal with as part of his cost of doing business. That's not something that typically gets passed on to a customer in a landscaping job. Okay, that's his own.
Just maybe a little bit of a different, but I don't think I'm far off from the chair, but I would say at the end of the day, what's the unit cost per tree?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you build that, I mean, frankly, if I was the one doing the invoice, even if there were legitimate office expenses, I wouldn't include that in there. I could tell you when I had projects on my own in another world, I mean, I saw things that I thought an engineer should show up at a project with. I'm not getting charged to pay for his use of a tool that he needs to do the job anyways. Now, if he wants to build that in there, you know, I mean.
I'll have the breakdown for the commission.
That's all I'm trying to say. Because I don't think we need to have another iteration of discussions about the invoice, so long as we can leave tonight with kind of a common understanding. And I think you could follow up with Swathi in the meantime, I mean, because then you don't have to worry about those open meeting challenges that you have in talking with us directly. Swathi at this meeting, here's what we're looking for. And then I think between the two, you can work out something that would probably be sufficient for the commission at the next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more than willing to, to release what you're asking for. It doesn't bother me, provided that you get the supporting documentation behind it.
And I would say that too, so.
Okay.
All right, Swati?
I just wanted to mention that we had a really detailed quotation from Western Nurseries as part of the mitigation plan. And that is a good example of, and I'm sure you have that as well, which pulls, mentions the cost of the tree by the species, material by like mulch and, and a labor and equipment, plant installation. So something in that model, because that way it's easy to compare with the original quotation for the mitigation plan as well. So, something like that.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we don't need to, this is just other business, there's no motion here, so. All right, and Ms. Hanley, you don't need to come back, okay, provided that, provided that it's documented. I would suggest work with Swati and ask her, because she gets a pretty good idea of what we want too, so. Yeah. And I know you don't need me going up and down on you either, so. All right, moving on. Right-of-way at 21 York Ave, 119 Chatham Street, and 160 Old Canal Drive concerning DEP file number 2060708 and its discussion of revised plans, including temporary installation of an anchor and support a temporary pole. So you must be here from National Grid?
Sorry,
No?
I was just asking her if this was hers, sorry. Hi, Swati said it was a good idea if I come and just kind of tell you what's going on. It's,
Could introduce yourself for
I'm
the record?
Melissa Kaplan with the BSC Group, representing New England Power. And they've been ongoing for over a year, almost a year now, with the A153, I-161 reconductoring project in Lowell and Chelmsford and in various towns. When they were working at outside the Meadowbrook substation, which is in Chelmsford, they realized that one of the poles that they need to replace, distribution line, coincides with the transmission line pole. And to be able to replace it, they need to temporarily relocate the distribution line on a pole. The pole is going to be right on the Chelmsford side of the town line, in a wetland, and then the anchor is what's in Lowell, and what we submitted the field change letter, the minor change request for, is just going to be this tiny little anchor, which is just a little metal rod they put in the ground, and we're going to put a Jersey barrier around it so no cars run into it. It'll be in the very edge of the grass, in the edge of the parking lot. Maybe right at the edge of the parking lot in the grass, depending on where they need to put it for the correct support for the pole. So it is in the buffer zone. So that's what's going on. It's this teeny little anchor that's going right there. So I just didn't know if you had any questions I could answer.
Yeah, it's also in the floodplain too, isn't it?
I believe it is, yes.
Yeah, and I guess the only thing that really concerned me was the placement of the Jersey barrier. I know you're using that to, shield, and it's temporary.
Yeah, it's temporary.
But it's not temporary, 2 to 3 years or
Yeah.
1 to 2 years. I mean, that's still filling a floodplain. Other than a Jersey barrier, is there anything else that you can stick in front of it or around it to protect it from a car hitting it or anything like that?
I could ask around and see if the contractor would have any other recommendations. I think that's just the first thing that came to their mind, and that was the easiest to obtain. Another option too is, we're already creating a mid-story flood storage area, wetland replication area. I can ask them to just dig a little bit extra for this.
Yeah, I'm not philosophically opposed to it, but, and this is sort of an isolated area. If this flooded, it's kind of just, the only people feeling the impact is kind of the businesses that are right there, so.
And this is the area where they're restoring it actually, because the parking lot had actually put their snow dump in the well.
Yeah, the dumpsters, I'm in the dumpster, I'm still in that mode. The Jersey barriers in Lowell, I would take it, not in Chelmsford.
Correct, the Jersey barrier.
Just kick it over on the Chelmsford side.
Well, no, because then they won't be protecting the anchor that's in Lowell. I mean, I would think you guys would rather have me have them put the barrier there than somebody run into the anchor and then knock the pole over, but I can try to see if they have any other suggestions, but that's pretty much the common thing to put up.
Just one?
Just one row, I would think just a little arc around it. It's not very big, so I would think 2 to 3, maybe little plastic Jersey barrier things.
Oh, those bucket things?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's one of those just orange plastic.
Ones that fill with water?
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't, it's just here to notify us, and I guess we could just accept it as a modification to the filing, so, I mean, it's.
Well, I didn't know, I decided to come to you, I didn't know if you had any questions about the project or anything like that, so thought I would come.
No, and you anticipate, removal of the temporary pole and these things.
Yeah, there's a, we already.
Why so long?
Because the project we came to a few months back that they're doing at the substation, that line is going underground and is going to be replaced in a few years, and they're thinking that it'll happen in about 4 years. So once the work is completely done, so that's why it may not even be that long. That's probably a very conservative estimate. But because of the other work that's going on that in Chelmsford and that we had previously come to you before, it's the underground conduit and all that's coming off over here. And then in Chelmsford, which obviously you guys don't know because you weren't, it's in Chelmsford, there's some work that's going along the right-of-way here that they're replacing the lines over there, or replacing the poles. So that's all part of that work, and it's not going to happen for a couple of years.
All right. So, thanks. Do we have a motion to accept it as a a minor modification to the plan?
I'll offer a motion to accept, this is a minor modification to the previously submitted application.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, we have there was an enforcement order that was emailed out. That hasn't been served?
Yes, it was mailed out today.
Oh, it was mailed out? Okay.
But we still need to ratify it
Right.
by the commission at the next meeting.
We were notified, I guess, by the Attorney General's office. Apparently, there was a consumer complaint made by a Michael Sherman.
Yes. Who's the property owner?
Who's the property owner on Leonard Circle in Lowell. And apparently, he had a driveway repair contractor repair some damage or something to his driveway, and they emptied out their truck, I guess, in a resource area. After the work was completed, I guess he made a complaint to the Attorney General's office about that, and the Attorney General's office forwarded it along to us because it was a wetland resource for action. However, unfortunately, we don't have any direct evidence that a violation has occurred because we can't get on the property. I guess the attorney, and we don't have pictures or any other information other than just a letter from the Attorney General's office, so, which unfortunately isn't enough. What their letter does indicate is that they have supporting documents. So, and I guess perhaps Mr. Sherman may be has been a little resistant to cooperate, and I don't know the reason why, but I guess he denied access to the property to look at the issue. which is his right, obviously, but there's no, I guess the Attorney General's office may have pictures or some evidence that a violation has occurred. What I would like, Swati, if our office could extend to Mr. Sherman, that, that the enforcement order is a standard practice. It doesn't necessarily mean that, that we'll take direct action against him. But what the Wetlands Protection Act, typically the enforcement order does go out against the landowner, even though he may be not culpable in the violation. Some unknown party comes on your property and dumps, materials in a resource area. The violation goes out to the homeowner, or to the landowner, not to the unknown violator. However, the Wetlands Protection Act and the City of Lowell Wetlands Regulation does say whoever, commits the particular act that's in violation of the ordinance or the act. So at least we could extend to Mr. Sherman that if he can provide us with information that, we can likewise notify the contractor, and I'm reluctant to, we do have that information, but I'm reluctant to read it out because we don't have any information that they did anything either. So, as it stands now, I'm not we have a report of a violation, but without any evidence of a violation. So, what I would suggest is
try to collect more evidence.
Right, the enforcement order has been mailed out. What I would like to do is perhaps that the contractor can be contacted by this office, as well as Mr. Sherman can be contacted by this office, and that they are both to appear at the August 27th meeting. And failure to do so may result in, a per diem. So, and let's get forward. I mean, the ultimate goal here is to protect the resource. And if the contractor did in fact, do the violation, then, and again, we don't have to reach any further than the landowner, but we can.
Okay.
So, it doesn't mean we're stopped from doing so. It just means we don't have to do so. But we certainly can. So, perhaps, and this office can contact the contractor, provided we get sufficient information that they in fact did the work and did the violation, and indicate that they need to be here also.
Okay.
Okay. We don't have any minutes to approve. Is there any other input on that? So I'm going to hold off on ratifying the EO until we get some direct information.
We need to place it on the agenda also to ratify it. Okay.
Yeah, all right. And if, Mr. Sherman, perhaps you could, furnish him with the, where this meeting is online so he can watch it himself, so. But in any event, you can, communicate if he's a little resistant to talk with your office, so. Also, nothing else, and we have a couple things to sign, but do I have a motion to adjourn? By Commissioner Varnum, seconded by Commissioner Lovely. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the ayes have it, and good night.